Transverse thrust. Put aside what you know. This is a right-hand propeller. The discharge which comes out of it is helical. It's difficult to make a helix, so my mates made a spiral for me. So imagine this propeller. My hull is on this side. The wake comes out spirally in this direction, clockwise. What happens on this side? Very little. I got a very slight low pressure on the starboard side of my stern. Almost no difference on the port side. What happens when the ship is going ahead? I have a very small tendency for the bow to go to port, stern to come to starboard, easily corrected by minimal rudder. Now we're going astern. The same discharge comes out helically clockwise because it's moving astern. The propeller is moving in the opposite direction. But now my hull is interfering with the discharge. What happens is I get a very strong low pressure on the port side of my stern and a strong high pressure on the starboard side of my stern. Then what happens? I have a strong tendency for the stern to come to port and the bow to go to starboard. That is why you find the transverse thrust is way more pronounced when you're going astern rather than when you're going ahead. Transverse thrust and propeller immersion. Conventionally, when the axis of the propeller is one diameter below the surface of the water, we call that 100% immersion. When you have 50% immersion, your propeller is submerged, but it is 50% immersion. Whenever we have less than 100% immersion of the propeller, the transverse thrust is more pronounced. Transverse thrust and the number of blades in the propeller. The transverse thrust is inversely proportional to the number of blades you have on your propeller. So if you compare a 3-blade propeller to a 4-blade propeller, you will find that the 3-blade propeller has almost 30% more transverse thrust than the 4-blade propeller. If you have a 6-blade propeller, it has 30% less transverse thrust than the 4-blade propeller. So a lot of places, the pilots want to know how many blades your propeller has. This is the reason. Now if you have stuff to add or there are still doubts in your mind, do comment and ask. I'll try to respond.